Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about delving into the sense of lack. This is, I think, a fairly common feeling many of us have. Somewhere deep within there's a hole. There's something missing. Sometimes it could be conscious, often it could be subconscious or unconscious, but there's this feeling of I'm missing something. If I just had it, I'd be happy, I'd be complete, I'd be whole. And so we start out usually in life trying to acquire things physically, just acquiring stuff. The various presents, gifts we get, no matter how much we wanted it, we find that very soon the feeling of incompleteness, this feeling of lack, is still there, no matter how much we get. Now, some of us pick this up quicker than others, but eventually we realize that it's not among the physical possessions that will ever fill this hole, this feeling of lack. And so often there's a move to intellectual acquisition. If I just knew more, if I knew more, maybe I would be able to fill it that way. And so there's research and there's learning and there's books looking for the answer in knowledge. And eventually we come to find, if we're fortunate, that too will never fill the hole. Then there's also emotional acquisition, getting more friends, having deeper relationships, finding that special someone that will complete me. Of course, even if we find the person, if we're lucky, eventually we'll realize that too didn't fill the hole. Otherwise, when there's an inevitable parting, be it the other person leaving, you leaving, or death, at some point, inevitably, they're going to go away, and then the hole is felt all the more. And so it's not a matter of emotional acquisition. And then some of us go on the spiritual acquisition. Well, maybe if I got enlightenment, liberation, self-realization, if I had that, I'd be complete. I'd feel whole. I wouldn't have this sense of lack. We're eternally trying to fill this hole. And this hole really arises due to our identifications, really. I think a lot of it comes from the very fact that there's a me. Because the me fundamentally has boundaries, has limits. There's always going to be the feeling of more outside. And so there's always going to be lack. As long as the me is there, there is lack. I mean, when we were infants and we were first born, psychologists say we have an oceanic feeling. There's no sense of otherness. There's no thought. We haven't gotten to the point of language, let alone thinking. There's just a sense of oceanic non-separateness. But then we're given a name, and this becomes our box, our prison in a way. We have our name, and we're referred to usually as our body. Stop fidgeting. Why can't you control yourself? And they're talking about the physical body. There's a lot of reference to the me being the body when people are talking. And so we come to feel that we are just this, the conscious awareness of the senses, perhaps centered back here in between of all the senses, but I'm in here somewhere and I'm separate. And so we have this box. And all of our acquisitions is we're trying to fill this box. But no matter how much you fill the box, at a minimum, there will always be spaces. If you have a toy box and you're filling it with toys and blocks, there's always spaces between the toys. It never is filled. The very fact that there's form means there's space between forms. And so what happens is the acquisition never fills the void, the space that's left. And that's why a lot of spirituality, and especially non-duality, is all about emptying this box. So you have your possessions. Well, get those out of the box. They aren't part of the mind anymore. Get rid of, let go of your knowledge, and so to speak, your firm belief in knowledge. But you're constantly trying to empty this box, and eventually you get to the empty box of name and identity, and you toss that too. So a lot of the practices involve deconstruction, trying to break all this down. And that's one way to try to point the way to realizing what's behind all this. But you can also just, I think, focus on this sense of lack. And you can question it. What is lacking? What is lacking? The only thing that is ever lacking is this idea of me. This idea of me isn't complete. And there may be a feeling associated with it, somewhere within. And so there might be a contraction, a coldness, a hardness, who knows. However you feel it, but something within just feels empty. And it's like, well, what is that? You could delve into this sense of lack and try to understand it. Where did it first arise? Did it increase? When did it increase? How did it increase as we're growing through life? Because early childhood, you likely did not have a strong sense of lack. It's actually gotten stronger throughout life. Why did it get stronger throughout life? What have you been doing? And so while I think it is a good idea to try to empty the box and toss the box eventually of all this me and mine and, acquisition, everything we acquired, let it go. That is a interesting way. But delving into the sense of lack itself, I think, is sometimes worth exploring. Because fundamentally, we have to believe in something that is lacking in order to feel the lack. And what is it that is lacking? If you were dreaming at night, and you're a character in this dream, you see other people, you see other things, you're doing this, that, or the other thing, it really doesn't matter. But if in your dream, the character that you're believing and identifying as me in the dream, if that character also had the same sense of lack, what is it missing? What is it fundamentally missing? The entirety of the dream is it. It may not realize that, but there is nothing in the dream that is not it, and thereby there is nothing outside it also. There's no other. And when there's no other and there's no outside, what can be lacking? Lacking fundamentally implies a border, a circumference. There must be an edge and another side for there to be lack. And so when you have this sense of lack, where's the border? What's the edge? And is it really true? Or is it just a mirage? Is it a illusion that there really isn't a border here? I just imagine there to be a border here. And if I ceased imagining this border to be here, there would no longer be the lack. It's an interesting experiment. I often do a lot of experiments, even before awakening happened. much of my spiritual path, is doing a lot of little experiments, just playing with things. And this is something that can be played with. It's like, well, really get in touch, really feel that inner sense of lack, incompleteness, something missing. Maybe even follow the need of needing something. Well, I need something. Well, the fact that you need something is derived from a sense of lack. And so as you follow this to this sense of lack, what's on the other side? What's missing? And you'll really, if you delve into it, you can't find what you're missing. It's just an illusory border, it's an illusionary edge where you think there's something other, there's something more. And this is where in non-duality and Advaita, where the true realization of Brahman is all there is, self is all there is, that there is no other, there's no outside, no circumference, no center. If this was truly realized and viscerally understood in an insight, an ever knowing, the feeling of lack necessarily has to vanish because there's nothing missing, because there's nothing outside. There's no lack, there's no more. There can be nothing more. And so if you really, really delve into this sense of lack and explore it, try to understand it. Like I said, where did it come from? How did it grow? In early childhood, it wasn't the same. It got more so over time. And if you feel for the borders and go, what really is missing? Where's that demarcation where I'm like, I'm full up to here and then I'm missing something? If you can get kind of a visceral feel for it and explore it, question it, doubt it, you might find that the imagined boundary ceases to be believed because it's seen to be imagined. And without that boundary, is the lack still there? Something to play with. Anyways, if you got any questions, comments, please post below. Until next time, thank you much.